All right. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Coach Will. In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about pricing. So I get this question quite often. In fact, I have this question right now from a gym owner in our program, and they're asking a little bit about pricing. So I wanted to do a video diving deeper on pricing, the psychology behind pricing, how pricing can be used to sell things for more money, how to structure your pricing so you can effectively sell more of the services you want to sell, because pricing in and of itself can be used as a psychological trigger to close more sales. A lot of people don't think about that. They think about all the other things that they can do to sell things. They'll think about their offer and what it is, their core offer. They'll think about overcoming objection. They'll think about more lead generation. They'll think about more appointment setting. But they won't often think about the first principle of someone buying something, which is the price that they pay, and how the position of the price that they pay actually can help to sell more of it. What I mean by that is not by just raising price or lowering price, right? But by offering ancillary pricing around it. And the particular question I have from a gym owner in our program that kind of spurred me doing this video is he's asking about if he should offer a lower tier, like limited access membership to his gym. So he offers right now a $69 per week unlimited option. That's the only option he has on his pricing menu. And recently in our mastermind we also had a really good discussion about pricing, and we found that using price anchoring is a really good way to help sell more of your core membership. So I figured in this video I could kind of do some really solid sales and pricing training, and also answer this question for these gym owners about how they should price their things and whether or not they should offer a lower tier pricing. So when it comes to membership based sales or subscription based sales or any type of service where you're charging someone monthly, it makes a lot of sense to put some effort into how you structure your pricing. What I mean by that is don't just offer one price. And the reason why it doesn't make sense to offer one price is because generally your only options when you offer someone one price. And there is a way to overcome this, by the way, but I'm just going to go directly at it and say, generally if you're just offering pricing and say, hey, it's $300 a month, the options really for the person there are yes and no, right? And I personally don't like having no as an option there. I'd rather it be an assumptive sale and that they're going to be buying this thing today, and which one do you want? And when you use an assumptive sales approach and you make the options, do you want option A, do you want option A minus, or do you want option B? Generally, if the pricing is done right with that, the anchored option pricings, your A minus and your B, can make A seem really valuable and make them just want to do business with you today. So I'm going to break that down a little bit, okay? So a really good example of price anchoring and how it works, and just to go a little deeper on this is there's a book called Predictably Irrational, which anybody who's considering iterating on their pricing, which you should do. A lot of gyms I work with, a lot of businesses I work with, they will have been in business for 10 years and have only ever iterated on their pricing maybe once or twice ever. That's crazy to me. Most businesses that are really growing are iterating on their prices every year, and you should have, for a decade you should have iterated on your pricing at least a dozen times. And this book, Irrationally Predictable, it has every chapter is about a different psychological heuristic around pricing and how heuristics affect pricing. What heuristics are natural decision-making mechanisms humans have built into their psychology to help make things less stressful, right? If every time we make a decision we have to start from the bottom up in how we weigh all the things around us to make a decision, it would be very stressful and very burdensome on our energy systems as walking energy consuming beings. So our brain is very good at creating these heuristics, and humans naturally have some heuristics built into them in the way that they make decisions and how they build value. So this book, one of the stories they tell is about how these two psychologists, Tversky and Kahneman, they theorized that suggesting an initial figure to a person caused that person to use that number as a starting point for estimating future unknown quantities. So if you gave someone a number, they would anchor on that number, and then if they are making an assumption in the future, they would naturally bias towards that number. That was their assumption. And they did a study test. They picked a totally random question most people would have no interest or knowledge of, and they went to a place where most of the people there would would definitely have no interest or knowledge of. So they went to a college and they studied like 10,000 plus participants. And in the test, they gave the subjects a known number. They gave them the number 65, and they told them, hey, I want you to remember that number. And then they asked them a bunch of questions. Hidden in those questions was their control question, which was, the control question was, how many African nations are members of the United Nations? And the average response was 45%. Okay, so they had that anchor number of 65. That had nothing to do with anything. Didn't have anything to do with the question. They just said, remember 65. And they said, answer this question. And the people said, on average, 45% of African nations were members of the United Nations. Then they asked a second control group. After giving them a control number, they asked them the same control questions. They said, your known number is 10. And they talked to them about a whole bunch of stuff. And then they snuck in this question. And they said, what number of African countries are in the United Nations? And the answer came back at 25%. So you had 45% with the control group being anchored at 65, and you had 25% anchored at the control group being 10. Now, it doesn't really matter what the real answer is, because at the end of the day, like them being anchored on a specific number naturally changed the number at which they guessed at, right? And you see this all the time in pricing. You see this all the time in most common ones you see like are in product businesses. Automotive manufacturers do this when they create a line of vehicle. Like the Porsche 911, for example. They have essentially 3 different trim lines. They have their base, they have their mid-range, and they have the high tier. And then with TVs, for example, you also have the same thing. They'll come out with a new TV, and they'll have a base, a mid, and a high tier. And the reason why they do this is because they're using price anchoring. It's not that they're trying to sell more of the high-end TV. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's actually that they're trying to sell the middle option the most. And how they sell the middle option the most, and it's the same with the Porsche 911, it's the same with the Samsung TV, and we'll use the TV one as an example, is that they have their core product right in the middle. That's always option A is the middle option, right? And then they have option A minus, which is like their value line TV, right? And that value line TV like doesn't do anything great. It's like really stripped down. It's like it's a TV and that's it. And then they have the B option, which is the high tier. So like an example pricing on a 65-inch TV by Samsung might be that the one that they're trying to sell. Well, actually, we'll start this the other way. So they'll have their high-end TV. It'll be $5,000 for the 65-inch TV with all the features, the very best features, right? And then they'll have their low-end TV, 65-inch TV also, but it'll be $600. And then what they'll do is they'll take the one they want to sell the most of, and they'll put the price point at that one right at about $1,200 to $1,500. And which one do you think they sell the most of? They sell the one that is $1,200 to $1,500. And the reason why is because it skews in pricing and value much, much closer to the $600 TV, and not anywhere near the $5,000 TV, but the feature set on that $1,200 to $1,500 TV is about 85% as good. Now it's missing a few like key features that are really more like status items, higher tier things. And in the case of a service business, those would be like your done for you or your exclusive things, like things that make the product feel really exclusive and limited, right? So like example, how Porsche does this with cars is they have like their 911 Carrera. That's their base Carrera, right? And then they have their high-end, the 911 GT3 or the Porsche 911 Turbo S. And the Porsche 911 Turbo S is a $200,000 car. Same with the Porsche GT3, the 911 GT3. And they have the Carrera, which is like a $65,000 car, $70,000 car. Both cars look essentially the same. The GT3 and the Turbo have a lot of like really unique hand-built features, and they have unique exclusive body trim that you can only get on those models that make it so someone who wants to pay for exclusivity, not necessarily value, will pay for that thing. And then they have the Carrera at the bottom that's the everyman's 911. And then you can get what's called the 911 Carrera S or the 911 Carrera GTS. Now those two cars are like, as far as pricing, are skewed towards the value spectrum. They're a $100,000 car. So they are on the value spectrum much closer in price to the $70,000 Carrera, the base Carrera, but only half the price of a GT3 or a Turbo. So as a result, more people, the 911S is actually the most popular selling car. The Porsche 911 4S or GTS are the most popular selling 911 models. And this is used all the time, and it should be used for small local-based service businesses as well, like gyms. In the case of gyms, to answer the question of should you offer a 2 times a week or 3 times a week limited membership option. I only would, but I would also strip some other things out of it. I wouldn't make it the same thing as your unlimited option. So I would make it your unlimited option, which is the one you want to sell the most of, right? Say it's, $200 a month, right? You're $200 a month, you get unlimited access to all classes at all class times and all programs. So at our gym, how we did that was we had our CrossFit program, which is our core program. We had our build class, which is a functional bodybuilding class we offer 3 days a week. We had our Olympic weightlifting class we offer 3 days a week. We had our nutrition seminars and workshops that we offered. And then we offered a bunch of other things like that. Now, as part of an unlimited membership option, you got access to all of those programs at all of the times. Now, when we offered a 3 times a week option, it was only that you got option to one of those programs. So you got 3 times a week, only to the CrossFit program, and only at specific times and days. So if you're going to limit it, don't just limit it by date, but limit it by also program, and also take some of the exclusivity out, right? Take like the highest value class times out, right? Because what you don't want is you don't want people paying a lesser tier, because even people at the limited tier might only attend 3 days a week, right? So like, what keeps them from going to the 3 day a week tier if they can go to the 3 class times they want? It's really about convenience and exclusivity, right? So like at the lower tier, you need to restrict it. You need, not just by class time, but also not just by class numbers, by volume, but also availability to exclusive class times and other programs, right? So it shouldn't be that they're a 3 times a week member. They can also go to functional bodybuilding class. They can also go to Olympic weightlifting class. They can also go to your nutrition seminars. They can also go to all your value add things, right? And then you should also offer, if you want to sell more of your core membership, offer, while you're at it, think about offering a higher tier. Think about offering something that's like, for a gym in this situation, if your core membership is, for this gym, it's $69 a month, $70 or $69 a week. He's, that which is $300 a month basically. I would think about offering something that's 2 to 3x the price, something in the $700 to $900 neighborhood, to anchor on the other side. Because if you're going to offer a lower, you should also offer a higher. In the higher tier with the gym, for example, I wouldn't necessarily say to try to sell that, right? It's just to offer it. We've had numerous gyms do this, and it helps. Not only will they sell some of them, but they will also sell far more of their core membership because they're getting most of the same value. What you're getting at the higher tier membership is going to be more done for you elements. So in a situation of a $700 or $800 a month program, it's going to be more personal training. It's going to be more. That's going to include nutrition coaching ongoing. It's going to include probably some customized nutrition coaching elements. It's going to include probably some accountability coaching and everything in the unlimited tier, right? And that's your $700, $800, $900, $1,200 a month option. Now, that's something that you should only offer if you can ethically fulfill on it. Like, don't promise all those things if it's just paying more for the same thing at the other option. Make sure it is something that you can fulfill on, and also make sure it's something that you want to do if someone does sell it, right? Don't just create it as a price anchor and then not fulfill on it. And in that regard, what I would do is I would think about before you offer it, like, what price would someone have to pay for me to actually go and do this, right? So like we did that at our gyms, where like, okay, we offered $1,000 a month thing, and I thought about it in reverse. I didn't offer $1,000 thing and then try to create $1,000 worth of stuff. I instead was like, okay, we can offer that, and that. What would that be worth it for me to actually go and do? If I was going to go ask my coaches to do more personal training, if I was going to ask our nutrition coach to go do more personalized nutrition coaching, and I have to pay them as well, what is it worth it for me to go and do that? And for us, like, it was like $1,200 a month to go and do that. And what was interesting is, like, again, we didn't sell a lot of that, but we would offer it on the front end when we would sit down with a member. We would say, okay, there's option A, B, and C, right? And most people would buy B, because they didn't want the restrictions of A, and they also wanted the exclusivity of B. And most people didn't want to buy C because they simply just couldn't afford it. But knowing that they got this, the people at the C tier are paying for the same thing, they're just not getting the done for you stuff and the one-on-one stuff, it helps to sell more of that, right? So that's, in talking about anchoring pricing, answering the question of, like, should I offer a reduced tier membership option with limited access? You should, to answer your question, but you should only do it if you're truly going to restrict the access beyond just volume, right? Because volume isn't enough restriction, in my opinion, because if the average person only attends 3 days a week or 2 days a week anyways, which is probably the case for most gyms, to be honest with you, especially as you do more general population, you're going to have people wanting to take downgrades because it doesn't truly restrict them, because it's only a restriction for the people that are attending 5 days a week, which is only, like, for most gyms, probably about 20% of their population, 20 to 30% of their population, right? We used to do the math on our gym. We had a 350 plus member gym. And for us, like, we used to map the hours they went to We used to keep track of like average client utilization rates, how many days a week they attended, and what class times they most often attended, and what days of the week they often attended. And it was only like 20 to 30% of our members, depending on the season, were attending 4+ days a week. So the other 80% of people, 70, 80% of people, were totally content with 3 days a week. So why did they pay an unlimited membership? Well, it's because we restricted them being able to come to the most exclusive and most in-demand hours, right? Demand, it's supply and demand that increases pricing, not just volume, okay? All right, so that should answer that question. If you guys have any further questions about that, if you find that, then you can post that in the comment section below. If you found this valuable, and depending on where you're watching this, like, subscribe, comment, share, click that notification bell. That's huge if you want to get notifications for all my future videos. And if you did find this valuable, do one of those things and just let me know. That way I know that this video was valuable and you want me to do more of it. Ultimately, the goal is to help you guys get more members, get more leads, get more of those people booked, get more people in the door, convert them into long-term members, and keep them longer. If you're a gym owner and you want to, do more of that, then go to biglittlegyms.com. When you get there, you'll click a Get Started button. You'll fill out the form to book an intro with me or one of my team, and we'll go through our processes and what we do and how it works and how you get started and answer any questions you have. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great day. Bye.